welcome everyone. This is our first virtual live talk of the year. I'm JP from Qualabs and Montevideo Tech. And here we have our panel that joins us for every Mate Talks, and a very special guest, Diane. Thank you, Diane, for joining us today. Okay. And today's topic is going to be NAB. Well, what to expect from it. And as many of you know, because there are many recurring users here, feel free to unmute yourselves, speak up. This is a conversation, this is a talk, so it's not that we're the panel of experts telling you guys what this is about. It's feel free to jump in. So maybe as a little context, I guess everyone here knows what NAB is about, but NAB is a trade show that happens every year in April in Vegas from the National Association of Broadcasters. And it's a very important, I think there's some noise from someone, sorry. Sorry. Oh, Nacho, sorry, I'm gonna mute yourself. Okay. NAB is this very important trade show that is one of the, I'd say, two main events in our industry, like trade shows, together with IBC. And usually it has a few purposes. The main purpose of many companies is to show their new products and what's out there. And I think our real purpose there is to reconnect in person and go for drinks after 6 p.m. But we cannot tell our companies about it, because if not, they wouldn't be sponsoring our trips. So maybe to kick off the conversation and to anyone here in the audience is, what do you think is going to be new this year at NAB? What should we expect? Or what do you expect from NAB?
I would like Connie to go first, because she may be speaking for the first time in public, so it'll be good practice.
Well, right, so that's a potential opportunity that I'm really excited about. Not the first time speaking in public, however, definitely first time at NAB, right? Other than that, I think I'm paying a lot of attention to different to the CDN markets, right? We have a lot of merger and, different media company, including WBD. We have our own strategies, right? And we have all shifted from growth to cost optimization. So that has a huge impact in the decisions that we make on the technology side. So I'm very curious to see how the other streamers, as well as the various CDN vendors, they position themselves and their strategy. I imagine a lot of it's going to be very similar to what we are doing at WBD, but nonetheless, I'm open to inspiration. Yeah.
I think the flip side of that coin is also a push towards really proving out the ad-supported model and continuing to find revenue in advertising, making advertising more efficient, and having the right data to understand how advertising is or is not meeting the expectations of the vision for ad-supported streaming services. So a lot of the conversations that we have, especially leading up to NAB, are around understanding ad performance, taking a look at new ad formats, trying to figure out how data can be used both, I guess, in the life cycle of advertising for targeting, reporting, measurement, and any efficiencies and new areas that data can help, add to the top line from an ad-supported perspective.
Definitely agree.
It'll be interesting to see. I know David and Casey are working on the server-guided ad insertion methodologies. It'll be interesting to see if anyone's actually utilizing that in the market, or is it still nascent?
Well, it's definitely being used in the market. I think there's going to be continued growth, and I think that we'll probably see some more of it at NAB this year from different providers, whether it be at the player aspect or on the platform side. I'm really interested to see where that also continues to go, just from like the ad serving side and so forth, right? I think there's an interesting opportunity there for them to offer like delivering out the asset lists or MPD stuff, right? Why is there another service that instead of just that has to go another step to the VAS versus getting that right from the ad providers? I don't think they're going to be there yet. But hopefully these type of events create those conversations that lead to some of that as adoption hopefully also starts upticking and growing. I think premium players are starting to look at also what they can do more with that, as well as what customers are looking for and asking for, and all being driven by the data. Like Diane is saying, like, there's more insights as to how are these ads the most effective? How can we really tune them? Where are we making the most money? That then drives a lot of this technical stuff as well. So getting that data, I think, is and continually find better ways for us. Says, hey, the world, it doesn't just only revolve around Conviva. To create this better insight and then allow that to drive your technology decisions, because even as Connie said, like, it's about cost savings now. It's still not in the, hey, we got money to innovate and play around with stuff anymore. Those were fun. Those were really good years. They're gone. But we need proof and data to show what to do next.
I'm still waiting for your SGAI backed by SSAI, demo.
Sure. We actually are wrapping it up hopefully today. We just got everything over and working with Nico over at Qualabs. Ben Rollins and I, we've been messing around with it. I got all the VAST stuff worked out for it all. He just updated all the manifest stuff. So we should be able to have that in there. I think the only thing we need to do is just tweak out the manifest a little more so you could do either one. But it all works with the SGI stuff, and now it's actually like using real content and looks pretty sexy.
Once it's ready, and if you're up for it, I'll ask you to come to WBD and do a demo if you like.
Sure, yeah. I've been working on a deeper presentation on server guide ad insertion, and especially nonlinear ads, and I'm going to be sharing that with some of the BitMovement guys and Uplink as well, because they're all showing kind of some more drive and interest into the server guide ad insertion stuff too.
Since it's been like, I think, over 5 minutes that we've been talking, it's time for the obligatory mention of AI, I think. It's just, at this point, we have to.
For as long as we could.
Yeah. 5 minutes is a lot. It is, I think, going to be interesting to see, okay, like now that the hype has died down a little bit and like companies have had time to actually really build some real applications of it, it's going to be, I think, interesting to see this year what are some of the more useful applications of it. And this is something that I know our friend Andy Beach has been talking about lately in his blog posts, which is really kind of watching AI be leveraged, right, for automation and tooling, and seeing progress there. Because I totally agree with him that that's where I think we're going to see the most immediate value, most immediate impact of AI in our industry is going to be taking away some of the grunt work that's part of the video workflows, and like just making them more efficient, automating a lot of stuff that used to require like manual intervention. So yeah, I think this could be finally the show where we go, oh, okay, we've heard people talk about AI. This might be the show where we actually see it applied for real.
So I agree in that, and I've also been reading. I think Andy's last post was about also solutions around like content discoverability, and so, but I haven't seen much, at least not in the announcements yet, from the typical vendors on what they're doing. So are we expecting new companies to show up, or smaller startups like innovating on it, or are we expecting the big media tech companies to come up with how we are AIing the industry?
I think that's a great question. I think it's, in some ways, I mean, you might make the assumption that a big company would have more resources to go add AI and innovate, but at the same time, even the big companies in our space are doing tons of, resizing. And so I think a lot of companies are in this state of keeping things alive and flowing. I'd also say that I think a lot of AI, I read a report that when it was like Google and Meta had the outlook of AI, they were not able to forecast ROI from the investments yet made on AI. And I do think that at, the scale of our industry, I still think that's true, where there's, I think, a lot of great technologies out there that use AI to do image recognition that might lead to metadata tagging and other insights that are valuable, but the cost of processing all of our videos through those solutions still does remain high. And the ability to tie the direct impact of having that extra data in ad calls and things like that still remains pretty ambiguous. Partially because not a lot of great tools and data exist to be able to run A/B testing to understand what payloads included more targeted advertising versus what ones didn't, things like that. So I actually think that it's more likely that some of the innovation in terms of, things that are going to catch fire might come from smaller companies who say, all right, like I have a little bit of budget to go innovate on something. I have a really specific use case. I'm not going to be bogged down by all the multifaceted layers of an organization to get a PR FAQ written to go build a new feature. I'm just going to, do a hackathon for a couple weeks and put something together and maybe leverage some foundational AI technology. I do actually think startups are in a great position to come out and lead with innovation in that area.
If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others. And I think you can apply that to the startup being very small and very fast, and you get some of the best innovation ideas from there. Although oftentimes the adoptability concerns of those really cool small shops and so forth become a bigger concern for others, whether or not to continue and invest with them. But that still drives the innovation that eventually trickles to the actual adoptable level.
But I think that there's not enough time being spent by the people who actually know what needs to be done versus the people who are playing around with the AI side. So I've been like the tools that are being created now, like literally on a day-by-day basis. OpenAI just announced that they're releasing their new 4.0 audio, text-to-speech and speech-to-text models. They're at the 0.1 cent per minute price point now. So they're looking at 99.9% accuracy on delivering that. So you're getting that price down, but who's going to have time to do that other than somebody small and somebody alone just playing around with it and having fun with it? To Connie's point, a lot of the big companies are so focused only on saving costs. There's no one around to really be spending the time on innovation and doing something new unless it drives cost savings in the future.
Yeah, I think the industry is definitely like ripe for disruption at this point, because I think we've been at this plateau for at least 4 or 5 years now. It feels like it. So I think that's one reason, right? Because generally, like whenever you hit a plateau in any kind of development, right, that's when suddenly everyone's at the same level, right? It's all kind of even level, and so that allows then somebody to come in and really disrupt it. And I think the other reason is why I think we're ready for disruption is, so unfortunately, we've seen a lot of layoffs in the industry in the last a year or 2 years. Those people who've been laid off, a lot of them are skilled people who are looking for new stuff to do, right? And they're the ones who are going to go spend time innovating because they have the time. They also have the connections. They can go form startups, right? So that's how new companies get born, right? Is you have 10 people who are they've all been laid off and they have similar interest, and they go, oh, let's start a company together.
All right, who's with me?
So and well, the SBTA is with you because we've all seen that you're now co-chairing the it's not the working group, is it the AI
committee? I think
committee,
Yeah.
yeah. And so congrats on that, Babesh. But so Connie, you were saying that let's say that NAB we have on our end, because there are also people selling cameras and antennas that none of us use here. But you may have like media companies that are actually going there to buy stuff, and then are technology companies going there to sell stuff. But and your statement, Connie, was and I totally agree with it. Media is now focused on cost control. But and also many of the big media companies are also starting to build a lot in-house of like on their stack. And we know, for instance, from you, Casey, that you're contributing to the and common media library because and you're building a lot of your own stuff on the player side of things. So what are these people that are building their own stuff looking at NAB? Looking at ideas, looking at ways to for interoperability, looking for vendors anyway, like anything in particular we should expect from the industry to control costs? And I totally agree on the I think ads and monetization is a big topic. Is there anything else we should be expecting on that end?
I think when I represent WBD and I come out and I speak to vendors, I think Alex, remember those times, right? We are, if a particular product from a vendor is very easily integratable, right? So I don't have to bring in your whole system because we potentially have a build them buy preference, right? So ease of integrability makes it a lot easier for us to consider a potential partner, right? And then all the observability that is already available that gives us insight into the service health, right? Now scalability and ways that we can utilize your resources, not the compute powers, the storage resources, right? Those are easy selling points, right? And when a vendor is selling, right? Because I think as a builder, right? When we are doing our cost evaluation, right? We are focusing on the bill that we get charged, right? So how much AWS charges us as a cloud provider. The part that is harder for us to measure is our own operational costs, the CapEx and the OpEx, right? So if a partner or vendor is able to kind of show us, this is how we can do this better, right? And then you help the potential customer realize, wow, the operational cost, the overhead there is actually quite high, and we may have overlooked those, and we may not have staff sufficiently to build and maintain. That may give you, a advantage.
We've been talking to some smaller companies as well too, and they're looking at presenting their products, and so I try to look at it from like a potential buyer's mindset, and and to Connie's point, first thing you want to look at is, what does it do? How does it help me? How does it solve my problems? How do I manage it, configure it, and then how do I never see it again? Because I don't want one more dashboard for somebody else to be looking. I don't want to staff up another entire team to look at that. I want to have it there, and then to Connie's point, now my observability stack and all my command and control stacks and the CI/CD stack, that should take care of everything from this point forward. So you better have a mature enough product that it has APIs and interfaces for me to communicate with it without ever having to use the console or dashboard. I don't have time, I don't have money, and I don't have the people to have one more screen.
It's just always funny how on one side there's a complaint about resources, and from the oftentimes companies who build great products will say, well, yeah, that's the whole point of buying a product, is that you don't have to build it in-house. And so it's interesting to see, and I think that Connie hit the nail on the head when she said that, this is a time of cost savings. And I imagine that a lot of the companies who at first had unlimited budgets and we're going to build everything in-house, when finance gets involved or when M&A is taking place within these large conglomerates, that finance people would much rather have CapEx OpEx than CapEx. So I do think that some of the tides are turning, and I can say from my own experience that companies who traditionally have wanted to own and manage everything in-house are in a more open-minded position than ever to potentially use other technologies, or products and technologies. And I think what has made technology, if you do offer a pure technology appealing is the ability to customize it the way that the large organizations want it to be customized. So I think if there are innovative technologies out there, I think those will always get a good look.
Interesting, super interesting the way you put it. And I think that the problem is not cost savings. It's also it's cost savings this quarter. Like I think the problem in our industry is not looking to reduce costs. That I would expect that to be normal. I think the problem is the short-term vision also. Like what we're seeing a lot in companies is a lack of like a 3-year planning to say, I'm going to invest for 4 quarters on these and expect these to bring me money in 8 quarters. Like now it's a quarter by quarter. I think that's way worse than just cutting costs. Because and I think that's part of what we're seeing in AI. We work with a lot of big companies, at least in the part we're exposed to. I'm seeing little to no investment in AI in the parts that we're exposed to again. Like and I think it is because it's very hard to find a way for it to calculate ROI, as you were saying today, Diane. Like, what's the ROI for this investment this quarter or the next one? And probably it's going to be negative.
Yeah. I mean, even if you bring it back to things like new ad technologies, if you're, we've had SSAI for a long time. We now have server guided ad insertion. We've always competed in those both realms with client side ad insertion. Do many people know how to compare the revenue generated between those different types of ad tech? No. And the teams that have the data, the teams that have the insights to run those tests would have to work more closely together to bring the insights together to have those calculations. And one thing that does give me, hope within, let's say, the evolving landscape of publishers in this in the space and buyers of technology is that I think they're going to be forced to work more closely together than ever in order to achieve some of the goals that are set in front of them. So that's never a bad thing, but does lead to change.
And I think then if they're not seeing the ROI, they're looking too wide of a picture and they're not understanding the tools that are available. AI is not just a wave a magic wand and all of a sudden you've got free code that's being written. You've got to be very specific as to what kind of code you're looking for. You've got to be very specific as to what workflow you're trying to go after. I mean, it's going to become a game changer for metadata management, for looking and cleaning up metadata when there's crappy data, because it can act like a human being as long as you give the rules to say, here's my in-source, my source of metadata coming over here. Here's another table that might have it. Figure it out. And then if you see something that looks kind of alike, it'll actually be able to use, like you'd have a good LLM that can actually figure out, oh, this is what it's supposed to mean. Let me see if I can call out another database, maybe as an agentic tool, find out more information, fill it all out based on what I have, and then let the workflow continue. Instead of that could have been like, that would have been like an exception going out and now you've stopped your workflow. Now you can have an agentic system working in the middle, actually letting the content flow and the metadata flow continue properly, because you'll have something semi-intelligent looking at the information and knowing how to clean it and continue on its way. And I think people aren't looking at that, then they're going to go, if they're within their own company, they're not going to have competition. But if it's something that's part of your product set, then your company is going to eat your lunch because they're going to figure that out faster than you are. It's becoming easier and easier to create workflows. I mean, there's tools out there that would literally, like, you just plug in and say, point to this database, and now all of a sudden it pops everything out, shows you what you need, and you just start picking and choosing what you want, and you're just generating your workflow based on that. And then you're tying that together, dumping information into Slack, creating putting it into a SQL database, calling a webhook, putting it into, changing Google Docs, whatever you want. All that stuff is becoming so easy that this kind of workflow can be done within days or hours, not quarters or sprints. It's not measured in that anymore now, or at least it shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think the innovation in a lot of companies is really going to come down to availability of resources, right? Like, do they have people who can go spend some time on investigating in these things? Because you're right, like some of the tools and all the pieces of the puzzle are already out there. They just need to be connected, right? But connecting those dots does require time. And yeah, companies that aren't willing to invest time into it are going to be the ones left behind.
Interesting, and I agree with that, Alex. But it's a weird time to make those kind of decisions, lately, from what I'm seeing. From other people in the audience, if you want to jump in, Chris, Dudley, Henry, like, again, anyone with your, like, what your expectations would be for anything new out there, happy to hear your opinions too. And again, summarizing, we said revenue generation, like ads. We said data, and I think, Diane, to your point, I think there's a lot of the data part together with the ad part of it that's it's becoming relevant, and also any ways to do cost savings and easy integrations.
I think security, things like, content protection, C2PA, what future things are actually being adopted and innovated around, that's how we also save lost money. Is something I'm interested to see what's really happening and what's continuing to come up and where people are really trying to focus with some of that. It's, the kind of the necessary evil that we always have to keep looking at, but we'd much rather spend our time elsewhere.
I guess we're going to see some of that too. And based on David's presentation during New York Video Tech Meetup, like last week, he already mentioned that they're working on some of the C2PA applied to like live streaming and not just files. Like I think the problem with that one, or the challenge, is currently like we all see provenance as an issue, misinformation as a even say democracy challenge. But who's willing to pay for it? Like who's really willing to invest in it if it's not going to bring any money? Like what? So I understand the efforts, and I think it's on the right path, but it's so far from what I've seen, it's only adding more cost, adding more processing, adding more delays. Like I don't see where it's adding any revenue or reducing any costs.
I think companies are going to start taking, C2PA more seriously. I think once they realize that if they don't take some of those steps, they're going to start losing money. Because if their reputation suffers as a result of people not trusting them, right, then it becomes a self-regulating thing. It becomes a question of survival, really. And so I think, we've seen these in a lot of industries, right, that where at some point companies go, wait, hold on, we're all losing. Let's all come together and work together to self-regulate so that, we can be trusted by customers again. So I think we'll probably be something. I think we'll see something similar happen in video industry, where eventually companies will go, yeah, nobody trusts us anymore because there were, so many fakes out there. So yeah, maybe we can do something to stop that. It's going to cost money at first, but it's going to pay back in the long run.
This is go for it.
No, you've got more important stuff probably.
I mean, security is one of those difficult areas where we kind of like the chicken versus eggs, right? So we're being asked by the business, what is the severity of the problem? But if we haven't built anything yet, you can't measure, right? You don't have anything to detect piracy, for example, right? So then per the what Alex says, the importance of our brands, right? Then we basically relied on contracts, right? Each leagues or content providers, they may have contractual requirements for us to deliver certain security features. or another unfortunate scenarios, if the content is found leaked on a third-party platform, and then all of the syndicated partner, we are now demanded to provide evidence that it wasn't leaked from our platforms, right? But building security features is expensive, right? Oftentimes it requires real-time logs. It requires a lot of compute, right? So we are kind of in this, we have to move by necessity, and then over time with enough precautions or consequences, hopefully we'll get there soon enough with a good enough, comprehensive enough solution. But at the same time, we are also negotiating with our business partners where they don't want to sacrifice user experience, where we are saying if this device doesn't meet a security requirement, we're going to, for example, filter out all the higher renditions. Right.
There's also and I remember David talking about this example for journalism and news, to certify that the video did come from you as being very important, so that you, and you're just a couple deep fakes away from that being forced out there. Because if somebody creates a fake news video, and the technology is getting pretty close to that happening, that all of a sudden something happened over there and they push it out there and it's out on social media, and all of a sudden there's financial implications or criminal implications based on that video, that's going to drive people to say, no, I'm going to certify and guarantee that this video that came out, this is ours. If it doesn't have our stamp of approval, and if there's no way for you to validate it, don't trust it. This is coming from this source, and go that way. I think we don't have those examples. We don't have those deep fakes that are out there that are doing that yet, but I think we're getting close to getting to that point.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I had in mind when I was saying, like, I think it's going to become a matter of like self-preservation and self-regulation for the industry, because like it's really a question of authenticity, right? Because if you're, for example, WBD, right, and you own CNN, and suddenly somebody starts putting out, deep fakes that are faking CNN news, that is going to hurt your bottom line, right? Like you can't pretend like that doesn't have an impact, because eventually too many deep fakes out there means that people don't trust that news source anymore, and that's a problem for those companies, right? So I think they will eventually care about authenticity, even if it costs them money to invest in things like C2PA and making sure that they're taking measures and taking steps to fight back. But it will pay back in the long run. So I think they will realize that.
Nice. So let's wait to see what NAB brings in the C2PA space. And of course, we're going to go visit our ECDRM friends, because David already said something about that in the past meetup. We haven't covered any topics around latency, about codecs, about streaming costs, about delivery costs, multi-CDN or content steering. We haven't covered any like encoding optimizations or scalability. Do you think we're going to see anything interesting or anything new in any of those areas? Or is that all the plateau that you were mentioning before, Alex? Like, yeah, multicast AVR has been out there for some time. AB1, HEVC has been out there for some time, and we're not to expect any new things.
Yeah, I think on the codec front, it'll be interesting to see, for example, like, is VVC making like decent, are they getting decent adoption, right? So are more playback devices going to be available this year with VVC support than last year? So, are there going to be big announcements from either SOC manufacturers or other device manufacturers? And then as far as, new codecs go, I don't think there'll be necessarily like new codec announcements, but I think we probably will see, again, back to AI, we'll see more applications of AI towards making existing codecs more efficient. So I think we'll start seeing more and more of that.
I mean, I think all the topics you touched on, JP, and that list are, those are kind of, a lot of those are kind of core elements. It's not necessarily the sexy and new. Yet always looking for ways to improve and reduce cost on delivery. And Connie touched on that right at the get-go. Of course, yeah, we need to have multi-CDN strategies in place to oftentimes be able to achieve that, and for its resiliency. Is there anything really sexy and new in those areas? Maybe not. I mean, further adoption's happening, and I think they'll still have a place in those conversations. Latency is always a fun one to talk about and then do nothing about later. But it's still a factor. It's still a topic. And I think that, there are options. I wouldn't say there's anything exciting and new in most of those things that you listed off. That doesn't mean there won't be discussions around that or people who are still focused in there, because those are part of everyday items at this point. But there's not like, oh, this clear winner or this new innovation, which, I mean, as Alex said, like, I think we are ripe for some cool new innovations coming up, and we have all this wonderful new stuff that can be foundational of it within the AI space and so forth. But it hasn't exploded yet.
One thing I'd like to ask, maybe like Casey or Connie or whatnot as well too, how is the implosion of the CDN industry impacting costs of CDNs back to them, and how much is it that now you see Netflix, Disney, everybody is increasing their price, so now there's more revenue coming into that side. Is that going to be going into, are you guys seeing higher CDN costs now because there's fewer CDNs out there, and the CDNs that are out there are having to compete for bandwidth just as much as anybody else now?
Casey, you go first.
I can't speak to that actually.
Oh.
Sorry.
So when it comes to cost, right? Like it consolidation is actually not a bad thing, right? Because in terms of cost, oftentimes that boils down to your contract, right? When you send a particular partner a larger volume, you can negotiate better rates, right? But that is at a cost of, right, like potentially your QoE, your redundancy, right? So as the industry landscape keeps changing, it like for having a multi-CDN platform is extremely helpful, because, for example, when Edgio went out of business, for those who have multi-CDN platform, we just put traffic away and done, right? Now,
By the way, they came back yesterday.
Did I miss something?
Edgecast is back as of yesterday.
Okay.
It refuses to die.
All my friends who were there all of a sudden are all like LinkedIn saying, "Yep, I got a new job. I'm now the VP of product for Edgecast." I'm like, it's back.
Yeah, I missed that. Okay, cool. Right. But all of my CDN partners, I think they're all very aggressive on exploring other opportunity like securities, edge computes, right, outside of byte delivery, because that, especially with us large streamers, their profit margin is likely not very big. Especially when we have multiple partners, we can also force them to give us better rates.
Interesting. I think we're done with the technology part of it and product, and let's go to the fun part of it. What are we to expect on the non-product part of it? Like, what are we to expect on the social part of it? And as a reference, I remember talking to you. It was a few years back, talking with Ryan Jesperson at one of the NABs, and we're at the dinner, and he had said a quote, something like, "This is where real innovation happens in this industry, when you put together 10 people in a dinner, in a table, and they're all discussing some topic, and then some ideas and these like actually come up because you start sharing like say in an after party at a dinner or something." So was there any expectations on the social part of it? What do you look for, or what events should we go to?
As we've been talking, I've been Googling on the side trying to find like the list of all the social events at NAB, and still haven't found it.
So Alex, are you the mayor of NAB or IBC or both?
I can't remember which one. I mean, I thought Mark Ramberg was the mayor of NAB.
I try to get him to this, but I think he's too busy. Yeah, I will get him one.
But yeah, I mean, as far as the social events go, what I think it's becoming more challenging to figure out like sort of like to pick your events for each evening because there's so many conflicting and clashing events being scheduled on top of each other. So that's always the challenge. I think there's no shortage of events.
So there used to be, and depends on the different social circles and groups that are out there. There's some groups that every year are always at the carousel bar at the in the encore, and so no matter what time of day or night you go by, you'll see that group of people hanging out there. Another group of people that took over the chandelier bar, Cosmopolitan. You know that eventually, if you get there by one time of the night, you're going to meet a ton of people there and just hang out over there. There's a bunch of places like that again, it's all different social circles and social groups have created their own little home bases where people can just bump into each other and know that eventually they'll meet. The Vesper bar used to be good. They used to have the best
Which one?
martinis. Vesper bar downstairs in the
Cosmo.
Cosmopolitan.
At the Cosmo?
Yeah.
Nice. Was it there when we met your friends, Babesh, last year?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. A lot of people from, I think it was a Verizon Digital or
That was that was the bottom of the chandelier bar. That was like a reunion of Edgecast, Uplink, everyone together at that time. It's like
yeah, there
50 of us there.
are more alumni meetings now than company meetings. How about you, Casey? Are you meeting with the? Because I remember there was this captions group or something meeting at NAB.
Yeah, last year was my first NAB. So
Oh, nice.
it's actually a group that spawned out of FOMS, the meeting right before Demuxed every year. And it was honestly just a bunch of people in a room talking about how messed up captions are from creation to viewing on the other end. And they kind of created a small, it's called the CC Subs group. And their first official meeting was last year at NAB. So that was my excuse to go. So it was nice. The group is still active. I believe they're meeting again this year. So I'm trying to get to that, but that's another one of those captions are, I think, will be forever broken because they produce no revenue and they just cost money. So actually hoping to get Scott hooked up with that group because his talk at the summer camp was really spot on to what that group is trying to achieve as far as they're just broken everywhere. We're all doing the bare minimum to get captions out the door, and then we say, okay, I'm done. So yeah, so that one's happening that year. Yeah, as far as the social stuff go, that being my first NAB, I was just overwhelmed with the amount of things going on at night, and I think I just went back to my hotel room. I was like, this is too much. I'm just gonna hang out by myself for a little bit.
Is there a video dev meetup or a Demuxed meetup at NAB this year?
Informally, I've been told yes, and that we should expect to use a Millennium Fandom, but it hasn't been officially announced. That same day, Max and Fastly have a Top Golf after party, so not sure if they're gonna collide or how that's gonna work, but yeah.
Yeah, is SVTA having an event now that they've taken over Dash AF, who used to be responsible for events?
So it's an event. It's like a get together, right? Like a
it's Skybar.
The Skyfall.
Skyfall. Yeah.
At the Mandalay. That's gonna be Sunday, and that's actually a good opportunity. The Lana Hotel, because you just show up and you're gonna make sure that there are many SBTA friends around. That's it.
Yeah.
What time is that one?
7:30 to 9:30 Sunday night.
Yep.
Or at least 7:30 until whenever the last person leaves.
Yeah. So it's
That's at Skyfall.
Yeah.
Careful.
That could be a good option to make the summer camp reunion if it works for everyone. Like, it's a good excuse to crash the SBTA party.
I'm a little worried that we've been talking about social events at NAB and Diane hasn't spoken up yet. Diane, what are you hiding?
I'm not hiding anything. I'm excited for band night. I love band night. I love people getting up there and playing instruments and seeing them outside of the regular work meetings. And yeah,
that the-
that's my
the-
favorite event of
I know
NAB.
Adobe has a band night.
Yeah, I think it's Adobe, AWS, and Hydraulics are all sponsoring it this year. And if anyone knows Christina from Hydraulics, she actually she was on, what was it, America's Got Talent or something like that, and like made it to one of the final stages, and she's singing. I cannot wait. I'm gonna be such a fangirl. So that's what I'm most looking forward to socially at NAB.
Now I need to come. I need an invite for that one.
I'll send you a message after this. You can sign up for it.
Thanks. Love it.
All right. So, sounds like if we can't find that one page that's already compiled all the list of social events in NAB, we might need to put together our own.
Is it Mark DeJong from the CDN Alliance? He's usually one that
he
does
did
it.
that last couple years.
That's right. Yeah.
I know, and I've been like going and looking. I'm like, where is our list, buddy? We rely on you.
Yeah.
Actually, there's this other one from Janet Greco. I saw this one. I actually signed up and didn't get anything. So far it's been a sort of a email spam register, but I think I might get it at some point. So happy to share it with everyone because it actually says NAB Show party and event list. So hope I get it.
Nice.
Excellent. We have a few minutes before we go. Any final thoughts? Anything? Let's say not expectations, but wishes. And please don't wish that old devices are gone and that we have new devices out there. Only new devices out there. We've asked for that wish for so many times already.
I just want the weather to be nice. You know, I want to not to be raining. I don't want it to be windy. That gets detrimental when you wear a dress. But otherwise, just some nice weather. What can you ask for?
It's always very hot and bright every time I went. So cannot be dramatic than when I had it when we went to Montevideo in January.
Well, I remember doing the 4K for charity fun run that I think it stopped happening during the pandemic. I remember doing that one, and that was crazy with in the desert. Like the IBC one was so nice, and the NAB one was so not nice. But I still miss it. It was fun. Like I had to train to actually be able to run 4 kilometers.
Didn't the one in Vegas take place at night? Wasn't it like?
No, it was in the morning.
Oh, really?
In the park, yeah. And it used to be organized by the Elemental guys. It was actually Elemental CEO that put it together as a charity event. And AWS continued it until 2020. There was a virtual one, and then they shut it down. It was fun.
A friend of mine is just organizing just a random run. Invited like 20, 30 people just to go for just a run around one night. If you guys are interested, let me know and I'll send you the link or the time.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I can even run the bus at this time, but
at Vegas at night.
I'm gonna be too many cocktails and ever go for a run in the evening. So count me out, but find me in the bar.
Totally. What are your wishes, Casey? What do you wish for NAB?
I wish I can go. I'm still not confirmed yet, so I'd like to be there. That'd be number one.
It's a pretty good wish.
Yeah. I'm easy. No, but honestly, I'm curious to keep the CC sub stuff going forward because it's just a problem that has been broken for a long time, and it'd be nice to see some resolution to that.
Hope so. Remind me to connect you with a mutual friend that's been working on AI captioning and perceptual validation. Not sure if I can share it publicly, but talked to him last week, and there's some cool stuff happening around it. How about you, David? What do you wish?
I just wish to have good conversations with fun people and see what's kind of going on. This will be my first NAB I get to go there that I have like no agenda or business goals that I have to meet. I'm just going to enjoy it and connect and see whatever's next.
So we're gonna see you like wake up at 11 a.m.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm not having any early meetings. It's gonna be delightful. Stay up late and sleep in late. Oh yeah, especially with twins at home. I'm taking advantage of that.
As you should.
Excellent. How about you, Connie? What's your
My cat is
NAB wish?
decided to say hello.
That's not a dog. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's my little
No cats
my
are
little kitty.
yeah, like meeting new friends, meeting, old friends, great conversations, right? I learned from Mark how to pretend I'm drinking alcohol, but when it's just soda water, not vodka soda, right? So I'm very well prepared. Yeah.
That's excellent. You, Babesh, any special wishes?
Just hanging out with everybody again. Trying to see where technology, what else do I need to learn? What else is good to keep expanding my mind and focus on.
You, Alex?
I'm going down for like just 2 days, so I'm just gonna try to pack in as much as I can in those 2 days, both on the social side and then try to see as much of the show as I can. I'm basically going down on my own, so I have no agenda connected with my company. I'm just kind of there to observe and take it all in, which is something I rarely get to do. So it'll be nice.
I'm jealous. Okay, my wish is gonna be that I have some time to spare during the day. Last year I had, I think, like 40 meetings in 3 days. So it was fun, but also a little tiring. And my real wish is that I get to see you all, that we had to share some time together and do this the summer camp reunion finally, to continue convincing people to come down to Uruguay next January. So if no one has anything to add, I'm gonna thank everyone for joining today, for joining the conversation. I think there's a lot of uncertainty going out there in the markets, a lot of costs constraints, still some layoffs out there, but also a lot more to do in this industry. I think I agree with you, Alex. We're in a sort of a plateau, but I'm waiting for that disruption that I think we're all waiting for. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Diane, for being our guest speaker today. It's been great to have you in our Mate Talk. And I also wish I can bring you a mate so that you can also join us next time with your Uruguayan mate. Thanks, everyone, and see you at NAB.